As a tenant, you just want a home that is comfortable, safe, and clean where you can unwind and find peace from the hectic and sometimes hostile world outside. Unfortunately, sometimes your landlord or other outside factors can disrupt that peace and cause you to ask whether you have any rights to bring back that nice environment you had in your home. The good news is that tenants have a robust bundle of rights that are granted by contract as well as federal, state and local laws. In this video, I'm going to cover some of the most prominent tenant rights that you can use to maintain the safety, security and comfort of your home. I will give a simple explanation of each right and describe what it means for you. Let's get into it. Number 1. Right to a habitable premises. As a general matter, tenants have a right to a habitable home. In simple terms, this means that your landlord must provide a rental that is safe and livable. This right is embodied in a legal doctrine called the implied warranty of habitability, which exists in almost all leases, even if it's not spelled out in a lease. So what exactly does the warranty of habitability cover? It depends on your state because different states interpret and implement this warranty differently. But as a general matter, it can cover the following areas: drinkable water, hot water, proper heating, and working electrical, ventilation, and plumbing systems. It also requires working bathrooms and toilets and may include maintaining sanitary conditions, such as the removal of mold and pests. If your home is not meeting these types of basic habitability standards, you have the right to ask that this be remedied. Number 2. Right to privacy and quiet enjoyment. Once you enter into a lease arrangement with your landlord, you are generally entitled to privacy in your new home and a promise of quiet enjoyment. Now these two rights are intertwined, which is why I'm going to discuss them together. I think everyone understands the general right to privacy that you can expect in your home. The right to quiet enjoyment goes a step further and gives tenants a right to quiet and peaceful enjoyment of their home without undue interference from their landlord. Examples of this may include construction activity by the landlord where the dust and noise unreasonably interferes with the tenant's enjoyment of their rental home. It can also cover inspections of the property that are too frequent or may even include excessive noise coming from neighbors that the landlord controls. Number 3. Right to a safe dwelling. As a general matter, tenants should feel safe in their homes. While not an explicit right in most contracts, there are laws and regulations that promote tenant safety. In particular, many states allow a tenant to break their lease early and without penalty if they are the victim of certain crimes, which may include domestic violence, stalking, sexual assault, and other criminal victimization. Of course, the devil is in the details and your state and local laws may differ on what's covered, so you should check out the applicable laws in your jurisdiction. Number 4. Right to notice. As a general matter, you have a right to receive notice before certain important events relating to your tenancy. This includes a right to prior notice before your landlord enters your home, which is often a minimum of 24 hours. You also have a right to written notice if your landlord is planning on filing an eviction against you. In some cases, you may even have a right to notice if your landlord plans on not renewing your lease. Now all of these potential rights are going to be subject to state and local laws, and your lease may also govern the application and scope of some of these notice rights, so you will need to consult your rental agreement. Number 5. Right to return of your security deposit. Landlords will almost always require a security deposit to lease a rental from them. This is often equal to 1 month's rent or more. So it is really important to know your rights regarding this money that you are handing over to your landlord. As a general matter, you are entitled to receive back your security deposit, less any outstanding amount you owe to the landlord, which may include rent, late fees, and other debts, as well as any repair costs for damage you cause to the property, other than normal wear and tear. State and local laws will also govern things like whether you are entitled to earn interest on the security deposit and when it must be returned to you. Number 6. Right to be free from discrimination. Under federal law, the Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination in housing based on certain protected classes. These protected classes include race, color, national origin, religion, sex, familial status and disability. So, you have a right to not be discriminated against based on these grounds. For a nice and easy to understand summary of the Fair Housing Act's requirements, check out my link below. Number 7. Rights under the lease. You will usually have a number of important rights under your lease, including the right to occupancy, the right to terminate the lease if the landlord breaches, the right to only pay the agreed upon rent, and the right to have repairs made as agreed to in the lease. Other rights that may be included depending on what you negotiated may include the right to renew the lease, the right to sublet or assign the lease, and the right to get out of the lease if certain conditions are met, such as a job relocation. Number 8. Right to reasonable accommodations if disabled. The Fair Housing Act, which we've already discussed, is a federal law that protects disabled individuals from discriminatory practices in rental housing. It requires that landlords make reasonable accommodations for disabled tenants, which can include ramps, grab bars in bathroom walls, and even termination of a lease if the rental cannot be modified to accommodate the disability. One area that has received a lot of attention in this space is emotional support animals. It's well settled that landlords must allow service dogs in their rentals, even if they don't allow pets normally. But now, they also must allow emotional support animals as well, subject to certain conditions, like providing proof of the need for one from a doctor. Number 9. Rights for military personnel. Active members of the military have the right to get out of their lease if they are deployed. This is thanks to the Service Members Civil Relief Act, SCRA. Of course, certain conditions and limitations may apply, which include providing proof of deployment and adequate notice to the landlord. Number 10. Rights under state and local laws. In addition to your rights under federal law and your lease, your state and local laws also provide a significant number of rights. Let's turn to them. Rent control. Depending on where you live, you may have rent control provisions in place that prevent your landlord from increasing your rent. Right to rental payment options. Some states prohibit a landlord from unduly restricting a tenant's payment options. Many landlords love the convenience and reliability of cash, so they may insist on tenants only paying cash. Depending on your jurisdiction, this may be illegal. In a similar vein, many landlords love electronic payments from their tenants, due to their ease of use and collection. These digital and online payment platforms have really risen in popularity generally, so their adoption for rental payments has also increased. But some states have also limited a landlord's right to insist on tenants adopting this payment method as their sole option, claiming it may have a discriminatory impact on the elderly. Right to utilities. Some unscrupulous landlords use self-help remedies like turning off the water or other utilities when a tenant is not paying rent or otherwise violating the lease. In the vast majority of cases, this is not permitted under state and local laws. So if your landlord is threatening to do this or has already done this, you should read up on your applicable laws and dispute it with your landlord, or even take it up with your local housing authority. Right to repair and deduct. If a landlord is not making required repairs in a timely way, some states allow a tenant to make the repair themselves and then deduct the cost of the repair from their rent. States are divided on this, so you will need to confirm if your laws permit this. Right to withhold rent. Similarly, you may want to withhold rent if a landlord is not making necessary repairs. This is also an area where states have taken opposing positions. In some cases, they will allow a tenant to do this, and in others they won't. Some states adopt a middle position where they do not allow this, but do permit the tenant to make their rental payment into an escrow account which gets released when the landlord makes the necessary repairs. Conclusion. As a tenant, it's important to understand your rights and to be proactive about protecting them. If you feel that your rights have been violated, you should consult with a lawyer or tenant advocacy organization to explore your legal options. Thanks for watching, and please hit that like and subscribe button if you found this content helpful.